King Jr.'s birthday. 36 points and 9 assists for James Harden. The Clippers are 13-2 since December 20th. They've been Congratulations to Indiana University. For the first time in the school's 106-year history, they are national champions in football. Indiana beat Miami Monday night 27-21 to cap a 16-0 season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. You may have heard me talk about the new course I'm teaching, The Art of Conversation. Well, it's here, and I'm holding a live free preview session on January 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Here's why this matters. For almost 40 years, I've made my living having conversations that count. Presidents, activists, artists, people who've changed the world. And I've learned something in the process. Most folk have no idea how to ask a real question, how to listen, how to create a moment. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, hosting a podcast, or just want to connect better, this changes how you show up. It's free, it's live, and I might have a surprise guest joining us. Here's what you do. Go to TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. Scan the QR code, click the registration link, and you're in. It's January 26th, 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm keeping this intimate. Don't miss it. I'll see you in class.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Top 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're just one day in from the national celebration of the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. In this, the 2026th year since the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. His life was so profound that it changed the course of human history and divided time between BC and Anno Domini. We are in year 2026 Anno Domini, measured against the time of the life of Jesus of Nazareth, and particularly his ministry, so critical and so important to the idea of civilized behavior. Martin Luther King Jr., a significant and pivotal force, not only in the 20th century, but a man who lived for only 39 years. Yesterday, we commemorated nationally his birthday, would have been 97 years old in this particular context. And of course, it's not without controversy. Every president since the inauguration of the holiday has issued a proclamation commemorating and celebrating the life of Martin Luther King Jr. And Donald Trump almost missed it. He would have been the first president to not sign a proclamation honoring the life of Martin Luther King Jr. He subsequently did so when it was brought to the attention, I'm assuming through the media, of his presidency to not sign a proclamation. But he did late last night, before the holiday officially ended. He signed the proclamation honoring the life of Martin Luther King Jr. I think it's fascinating in and of itself that the people around the President of the United States do not have the President of the United States prepared for a national and international gaffe quite like the one that took place yesterday. But it says a lot about the spirit energy of the President of the United States, and it says even more about the time that we find ourselves in. Our very special guest today is Wendell L. Griffin, an Arkansas lawyer, jurist, legal educator, business leader, ordained Baptist minister, and public speaker. On April 15, 1985, Governor Bill Clinton appointed him chairman of the Arkansas Workers' Compensation Commission, making Griffin the first person of color named to that state agency and the first to chair it. Griffin served in that position until February 2, 1987, when he returned to his law practice with Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Governor Jim Guy Tucker appointed Judge Griffin to the Court of Appeals at the end of 1995, and he entered the judicial service in 1996. While on the Court of Appeals, Griffin also remained active in professional, civic, and religious life, including service as president of the Pulaski County Bar Association, pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church of Little Rock, Arkansas, and parliamentarian of the National Baptist Convention USA, Inc. He is the author of 2 books, The Fierce Urgency of Prophetic Hope and Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. Judge Griffin, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Congressman Jackson, it is good to be with you again, and Happy New Year to you. Happy day after the King holiday. How are you?
I'm so grateful and honored, deeply honored by your presence on our show, and I can't think of a more appropriate guest to help contextualize what we are going through in the fierce urgency of prophetic hope. Lord knows we need prophetic hope at this hour. Clearly, you were inspired to really write, create, and think through a masterpiece. We have about 3 minutes before we come forward, which means the first break in our show. Will you share with us during this time period why the nation, why the country, maybe even the world needs a prophetic hope at this hour?
We are in a time where hope seems to be almost difficult for people to imagine. People are dealing with trauma on so many levels. In the United States, we see the modern version, the 21st century version of the KKK operating in ICE. We see Washington, D.C. threatening to invade Greenland, already having invaded Venezuela, threatening to invade other countries. We see the ongoing genocide in Sudan, in the Congo, in Gaza. We see all kinds of trauma, and people are finding difficult to believe in the notion of hope. So the issue of hope is almost, people are almost breathless for it, and at the same time desperate for it.
You know, Judge, I had the privilege yesterday of speaking in Waukegan, Illinois, and I spoke from the subject matter April 4th, 1967, when Dr. King delivered a speech that, quite frankly, changed his ministry. It changed his relationship to the Baptist Convention. Joseph Jackson, the pastor and leader of that convention at that time, even changed the entrance to his church from King to 31st Street. So I know you understand the context. Dr. King, I was told by my father, I believe, was to speak at one of the conventions, and a shuffle began on the stage at the Baptist Convention. A pastor was knocked off the stage, broke his neck, and died. Literally, a fight broke out. Dr. King was an immensely unpopular man at that time and during that period. But in that Beyond Vietnam speech, I chose yesterday as my subject matter, Beyond Venezuela. Beyond Venezuela. He spoke about Venezuela in the same speech, bringing an urgent currency to this moment. Judge Griffin?
He spoke about it. It was prescient. And I'm glad that you named your speech Beyond Venezuela because, and we can talk about it after the break, because April 4, 1967 is perhaps the most relevant speech that King ever delivered for our time. We need to talk about that in detail because too many people are quoting 63 when they need to be quoting 67.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to have an exciting program in this first hour with Judge Wendell Griffin, Arkansas lawyer, jurist, legal educator, business leader, ordained Baptist minister, and public speaker. Particularly honored that he's on our show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon, And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sending to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, get me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm 2. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes, and your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs. Because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Your Honor. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So, if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter. The controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA 1580.
Download the app. Hey, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the show. Our very special guest is none other than Reverend Dr. Wendell Griffin, an Arkansas lawyer, jurist, legal educator, business leader, ordained Baptist minister, and public speaker. And just before the break, before we came forward, Judge Griffin and I were having a conversation about how immensely unpopular Martin Luther King Jr. was on April 4th, 1967. He was 39 almost 38 years old, almost 39 years old. He'd be shot and killed a year from the delivery of this speech. But this year was a year of great depression for Martin Luther King Jr. He had received the Nobel Peace Prize. He had delivered in 1963 a memorable speech at the Lincoln Memorial. But there's a fight breaking out between Baptist preachers and young people. He talks about it in the speech, who were disagreeing with a generation of people were saying that Dr. King's tactics were not working. And I can't think of anyone more important in this hour to share with us the context of the fierce urgency of prophetic hope and the prophetic hope and mission that Dr. King was on at that hour. Judge Griffin?
We forget, I like to remind people who have Dr. King's picture in their churches and church studies that oftentimes the people have Dr. King's picture in their church studies when predecessor pastors of the congregation wouldn't have had Dr. King in their town, let alone in their pulpit. And so we need to remember that Dr. King was ousted from the National Baptist Convention, USA Incorporated, as you mentioned. He was thrown out of the home of his father and his grandfathers on both sides. And he literally was without a denominational home until the Progressive National Baptist Convention was organized. He and Gardner Taylor were thrown out. I say that because Dr. King called this nation to account for its racism, for its militarism, and for its gangster capitalism. We call it gangster capitalism now, our word, but he called it crass materialism. We realize now, too late, that Dr. King was more than a civil rights leader. He was a prophet. He was a preacher, as you mentioned, and he spoke prophetic truths, and he was killed because his truth cut too deep and too close to the very real wrongs of this society. We are now in wars in this country, and Dr. King begged this nation to end its military involvement in Southeast Asia.
Judge, when I reflect upon that in my own studies over the last couple of months in preparation for this 250th anniversary of this young nation, July 4th, 2026, we will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Dr. King stands out as this prophetic voice, raising questions about this new civilization that has entered the global sphere of contemplation. Not only a young nation, but it emerges as the most powerful nation, the most influential nation against the backdrop of human civilization, with significant unfinished work in front of us. And he talked about the value system of putting people over politics, of putting people over things. We needed to move quickly, he said, from a thing-oriented society to a people-oriented society. Doc, we have a clip right here that I'd like to play.
We are living in a moral crisis, not symbolic, but so deep. Our humanity is at stake. There is a battle going on between good and evil, and the future of this nation and the world house hangs in the balance.
That was Bernice King, Reverend Dr. Bernice King, speaking just yesterday at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Dr. Griffin, your thoughts?
She speaks not only the truth her father speaks, but she speaks the truth that we know. Our children, our young people are speaking it. We're hearing it all across this country and across the world. It is as real as the murder of people who are murdered or killed by ICE in confinement, but also the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis. It is the murder of people who are literally killed because of their ancestry or because of their perceived ancestry, because ICE agents are killing folks and detaining folks based on appearance. They're profiling people, and being racially profiled now is a capital offense. We are seeing Dr. King's concern about not being a people, a person-oriented society, as he said so clearly on April 4, 1967, to being a thing-oriented society, where we are more concerned about cryptocurrency than the currency of human beings in communication with each other and in solidarity with each other. And so we have this very big dichotomy, as Bernice King mentioned, where literally our souls are being split apart.
I want to pick up on that because, I've heard thousands of sermons have been delivered about the fierce urgency of now. Rarely does anyone refer to in those sermons the Beyond Vietnam speech or bring the connection to Beyond Venezuela, a time to speak. But really, Dr. King's challenge is not only to the U.S. government. What makes him unpopular is that his challenge is to each and every one of us. And by that, I mean, when he says a thing-oriented society, I try to break it down this way. We all want bananas, but we don't want to have anything to do with Panamanian neighbors or Costa Rican neighbors. We don't want to have anything to do with people living next door to us who actually come from lands that grow bananas. We all want lower gas prices, but we're ignoring the Venezuelan and the immigrants and the crisis that they're going through in their own country, the people who stand on the largest oil reserves in the nation. We wake up in the morning, we hear the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which in 1954, when Brown versus the Board of Education was decided, if you Google it, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 404.
That's right.
The hour of Dr. King's death in 1968, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the industrial average, the measure of the American economy, was 1,000. At the beginning of the Reagan administration, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 7,000. At the end of the Barack Obama administration, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 19,000. It closed last Friday at 49,000. And yet there is so much misery in the land. People are not getting their SNAP benefits. There's a great debate in this nation about health care, about housing, about affordability, about quality of life. And then I reflected upon in my remarks that what happens in this AI and robotic profit-driven economy for more and more efficiencies when Dow Jones is at 60,000 and at 80,000. There is a tipping point when the economy itself no longer needs the American people because it becomes so efficient that it doesn't take care of the least of these. Reverend Griffin?
I think you have touched on what Dr. King talked about. You recall quite well that Dr. King said that at some point, a nation that has a true evolution of values will have to realize that his words, when machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. End quote. We not only have not conquered them, we have multiplied them. What you refer to in the Dow Jones Industrial Average has been an exponential increase in the Dow, coupled with an exponential increase in the misery that our people are suffering. So we have exponential increase in supposed wealth and exponential increase in supposed hurt. And we cannot recognize that the wealth is going to a smaller and smaller number of people, and the hurt is expanded to a larger and wider and deeper freedom. So much so that, like a virus or a cancer, we are becoming incapable of dealing with the problems. Our problems are now self-made and multiplied. The triplets are now octuplets.
And we wake up every morning, we read the stock market, we look at our IRAs, we ask ourselves the question, how are we doing? Is the economy better off today, 4 years, than it was 4 years ago? And we keep going down this same road to the point Dr. King suggests at the end of the speech that we are looking at either nonviolent coexistence or absolute annihilation of the idea of the species and the idea of civilization. Very powerful and unpopular words for someone who peeped the direction of our economy, who peeped the direction of our politics. And if you add to that the influence that the Constitution should have on directing the economy to humane priorities for the American people, you're right. It is simply suggestive of the fact that this is a system that is moving in a direction that needs more and more oil, more and more critical minerals, more and more reserves in order to consume and meet the needs of each of us who wakes up in the morning concerned about ourselves, concerned about our homes, and concerned about our bottom lines, that the collective is completely lost.
The line that Dr. King said that stays with me, that haunts me to this day, this is 1967, he gave it. We're in 2026, so we're literally almost 50 years away. And he said, a nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. I wrote in The Fierce Urgency of Prophetic Hope that we've continued to go over and over and over our budgets in military defense and instead of social uplift year after year. Sooner or later, people who court spiritual death find a way to kill themselves. Mm-hmm. And our society has found a way to commit national suicide of our souls, but also of our democracy. We're seeing the democracy imperiled, we're seeing our character imperiled, and we're seeing our sense of humanity imperiled. The world now is aghast at the nation that has so much hubris, it does not realize how horrible it is.
Doc, we only have about a minute and a half before we come forward. If you had to preach the eulogy of our system, what would it sound like?
It would sound like the nation that forgot its prophet. We have learned the wrong lessons from the wrong prophets. We've learned the lessons from the prophets of greed, of racism, of bigotry, and we have not learned the lessons from the prophet of love, justice, and democracy. And when you forget the lessons of your prophets, you commit the sins of your ancestors. We're doing that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour is Judge Wendell Griffin, an Arkansas lawyer, jurist, legal educator. In 1985, appointed by Governor Bill Clinton to chair the Arkansas Workers' Compensation Commission, making Griffin the first person of color named to that state agency and the first to chair it. We're having an honest conversation about the destiny of the United States. We've heard a brief eulogy of what it represents. There may be a way to amend our way out of this problem. The right to health care of equal high quality as a constitutional right and a new government priority. The right to a clean, safe, and sustainable environment, and the right to an education of equal high quality. And God knows we need the constitutional right to vote. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Judge Griffin when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says ICE is arresting dangerous criminals in Minnesota as protests continue following the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent.
No, Minnesota, the crime is incredible.
Trump adds he could invoke the Insurrection Act over the unrest, though he has recently signaled he may hold off. A Dinwiddie, Virginia church is honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with a permanent historical marker. Mount Level Baptist Church unveiled the marker, recognizing King's 1962 visit during his People to People tour, where he urged voting as a path to equality. And Black Florida rapper YNW Melly appeared upbeat in a Broward County court today after prosecutors dropped witness tampering charges against him. The rapper is still accused of killing two friends and fellow artists in 2018 following a late-night recording session in Fort Lauderdale. His murder trial is set to begin next year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The best story in the NBA right now is the Clippers. They won their sixth straight game Monday with a 110-106 win at Washington. The Clippers were part of 9 day games on the NBA schedule Monday that celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. 36 points and 9 assists for James Harden. The Clippers are 13-2 since December 20th. They've improved to 19-23 and have moved into 10th place in the Western Conference, the final playoff spot in the West. Major props to Clippers coach Ty Lue and his staff for keeping the team above water during some tough times. The Clippers go for 7 straight tonight in Chicago. The Lakers begin an 8-game road trip tonight in Denver. Congratulations to Indiana University. For the first time in the school's 106-year history, they are national champions in football. Indiana beat Miami Monday night 27-21 to cap a 16-0 season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. You may have heard me talk about the new course I'm teaching, The Art of Conversation. Well, it's here, and I'm holding a live free preview session on January 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Here's why this matters. For almost 40 years, I've made my living having conversations that count. Presidents, activists, artists, people who've changed the world. And I've learned something in the process. Most folk have no idea how to ask a real question, how to listen, how to create a moment. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, hosting a podcast, or just want to connect better, this changes how you show up. It's free, it's live, and I might have a surprise guest joining us. Here's what you do. Go to TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. Scan the QR code, click the registration link, and you're in. It's January 26th, 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm keeping this intimate. Don't miss it. I'll see you in class.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Judge Wendell Griffin, this is his second appearance on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm trying to find room on our schedule to make him a regular contributor to the show. I'm so grateful that he's spending this quality, immerseful time with us on the spirit energy of what's taking place in our nation. Judge Griffin, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you so much. And I thank you, Congressman Jackson, for being the wonderfully tenacious host that you are and keeping it real, because you have not chosen to give up the legacy of justice in favor of, let me put it this way, in favor of the creed of the day, which is get mine and don't think about anybody else.
You know,
you think about all of us. Thank you,
Judge. I appreciate you very much. You know, I'm after having studied for the last month or so in preparation for this hour, the Beyond Vietnam speech. I think I'm as depressed at this moment as I've been in a very long time. I share Dr. King's depression that there is something profoundly wrong in our society. There's something profoundly wrong with our system. The Constitution, the Declaration of Independence have guided this nation, albeit through its most difficult and continuingly difficult periods. And I'm wondering if also in the Constitution is the possibility of our nation's salvation. In 2001, I wrote about this in my book, A More Perfect Union. I advanced 9 new individual rights to be added to the Constitution that literally would direct capitalism to new opportunities. If the First Amendment is responsible for ABC, NBC, CBS, the internet, cell phones, and billboards, newspapers, and all of the outdoor advertising, and literally the millions of jobs that are created from the idea of free speech, then a carefully worded amendment to the Constitution of the United States, guaranteeing every American the right to health care of equal high quality, could also be responsible for the creation, the construction of hundreds, if not thousands of hospitals in urban areas and rural areas. It could create tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of doctors and nurses, and share in a value to create a society where we have the longest longevity as people by making sure people can live and they can thrive. That the same Constitution could build public schools of equal high quality, knowing no disparities, and therefore the pool of athletes, for example, would be so great when we see an NFL game or a baseball game, when all of these schools have coaches and teachers of equal high quality and fields, and children during the formative years of their lives are exposed to the great opportunities that are America. We would have a huge pool to choose from to determine who plays for the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, the LA Rams. It would change the nature of us working together again, guided by the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to close on this quick point. Tavis Smiley once shared with me that he was at a forum for Michael Milken, the Michael Milken Foundation, and the question was raised after they had met for several days with hundreds of people to discuss the best education ideas. And Mr. Milken pulled all of the people into a big auditorium and he said, listen, I've heard everyone's idea, but is there anyone in here who has a grand idea that would solve all things for us? And Tavis said the quiet in the room was ominous. No one raised his hand. He said he thought for a moment, let me try some of this Jesse Jr., some of these Jesse Jr. ideas. So he said, Tavis raised his hand and he said, And then he looked around, Michael Milken looked around and said, well, Tavis, what's your great idea? He said, what if we amended the Constitution and all Americans enjoyed the right to a public education of equal high quality, setting in motion the construction of tens of thousands of new, highly competitive public schools across our country, putting people to work. He said the entire room was quiet. It was ominous. For everyone for that moment had an insight in what was possible, but of course, the difficulty of amending the Constitution makes it even more difficult. In other words, towards Dr. King's better society and world house. Judge?
We are not accidentally dysfunctional. We are systematically dysfunctional. And your suggestion of amending the Constitution points to that. We could, if we would, if we had the moral will, if we had the courage, if we had the moral candor, we could do exactly what you suggest. We could amend the Constitution so that we would value education and liberation over incarceration. We could value not only the performing arts in athletics, but also the performing arts in drama and theater. We could value science. We could, the nation that produces the wonderful rappers still could that also produce Dinah Washington and Duke Ellington, and but if our schools, those schools had music programs in them with teachers who were inspiring young people. August Wilson's plays could be performed, but also new August Wilsons could be producing and writing and imagining. This comes out of schools. You don't get this out of AI. You don't get this out of a data center.
You're preaching right now, Reverend. Let me tell you, I'm thinking in this moment that the prophetic vision of the nation that Dr. King was struggling with, which was spot on in the 1967 April 4th speech, is also challenged by the fact that people could not hear him, that people were losing faith in America itself. Judge, you've sworn to uphold the Constitution on many different occasions. Your thought about the loyalty oath to making the nation better?
The oath is not the problem. It is the oath taker. No oath is any better than the person who takes it. People can swear to do something, but their oath is no good if their character is deceitful, if they are hypocrites. If they are ruthless, then the oath to protect and preserve the Constitution, to look out for the least of these and the vulnerable, is no good, because they will, in their ruthlessness, run over the people they're sworn to protect and to serve. And so I'm not concerned about the loyalty oath itself. I'm concerned about the fidelity of people, the faithfulness of people. And I am concerned, let me just simply say it, about the gullibility of an electorate. That knowing people to have lived their careers in ruthlessness and greed and self-centeredness would believe that they would somehow become honest, generous, and hospitable because we elect them to the highest office in power. People who are corrupt, when given power, use their power in more corrupt ways.
Absolutely.
Smart liars lie smarter. They don't become more truthful.
I just want to add before we come forward, when such a constitutional right is added to the Constitution, it means that 350 million Americans have the legal right to take your local jurisdiction, your state, including the federal government, to court to demand the change through the legal system that the Constitution enforces. If, in fact, it is not in the Constitution, we don't have that right. And that is deeply troubling at this hour of the American experiment. It is deeply troubling at democracies around the world who've copied our Constitution. And in copying our Constitution, whether it is in Africa or South America, these constitutions that model themselves after our own do not reflect the human values that we are still fighting for within our own country. country. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward with Judge Wendell Griffin right after this message.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. Their max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And just before we continue our discussion with Judge Griffin, I want Judge Griffin to know that at the top 3 minutes of the show, I always leave it for a word of hope from our very special guest. And I have to prepare you for the idea that after our brief conversation, there will be 3 minutes at the top of the show for your word of hope. I want to thank in a very special way. In the last week, Kamala Harris has visited my father's bedside. Stevie Wonder has also visited my father's bedside, and I'm grateful that I see a picture that our producer Gina Towns has put up of Gil Scott Heron, Stevie Wonder, Reverend Jackson, and Gladys Knight, and some of the earlier times that they all spent together. And I wanted to thank them for those visits. Judge, I want to ask this final question and leave some room for your thoughts. In your book, Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith, you draw with, I might add, Alan Aubrey Bozak, written also with Judge Wendell Griffin. Judge Bozak, Reverend Bozak is, as everyone knows, a champion of ending the apartheid regime in South Africa. You make this connection between our politics, the parables themselves, and the prophetic nature of our faith. Help restore our faith and our energy as we move forward during these very difficult and challenging times.
We do not choose the time in which we live. We choose the conduct we use in those times. And part of that choice involves choosing whether to have life with a kind of, as Dr. King said, fierce hope, a hope that is that transcends our situations. I like to remind us that the African American national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, ends with a reminder that we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come through bad times. Or as one of our wonderful artists said, life for me ain't been no crystal chair. Crystal chair. We have come through this. And every generation has a moment that we have to declare ourselves who we are. Are we people of desperation or inspiration? Are we people of frustration, of ferocity, ferocious hope? Are we people who are determined to overcome? Are we people who are simply going to be confined to our sense of misery because of the difficulties we face? Those choices are ours, but we are come from a people who are inspired by a faith that is bigger than the situations of our time. Our struggle is defined by our faith and our hope. And I got to be a preacher.
Come on now.
I've got to say that trouble has never been God for us. Injustice has never been God for us. Inhumanity has never been God for us. We know who our God is. We know on what we stand. And we know that just as we have known that Hitler was not God in the 1900s, Trump is not God in the 21st century. Injustice is not God anytime. We have to remember that the justice of our life is dependent on the God of our lives, the big G, God. And that is what your father inspired in you and your siblings. That is what Dr. King demonstrated. That is what we have to pass on to this next generation.
There's going to be two words of hope because that's the first one. I'm thinking in this moment that that Dr. King also talked about how often the policymakers and the liberal thinkers always come with the policy prescriptions, but their policy prescriptions are not necessarily tied to the parables or tied to the prophetic faith. They are great on paper, stand for this program, stand for that program, but what propels them through time is their faith. You wove that together in Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith, suggesting that it is okay to engage the present hour. Woe may all our powers be engaged to do the Master's will. Judge Wendell Griffin, a final thought, a word of hope. You got a few more minutes this time to take your time and take us to that place.
I am 73 years old. Like your father, like your parents, I'm part of the last generation of Africans Americans who lived and have firsthand knowledge of Jim Crow. Separate bathrooms and water fountains that didn't work. Schools that didn't have the right books. I went through the whole 9th grade without an algebra book. How do you learn algebra 2 if you don't have an algebra book for algebra 1? And my parents were laborers, and they paid the same taxes the white people did, but the white parents had children with algebra books and teachers who didn't have better education, because our black teachers often had master's degrees and the white teachers only had bachelor degrees, but the white teachers got better facilities. But our parents sent us to schools with an inspiration. You are not less than. Your God has put you here for a purpose, and you are being prepared for a future that is bigger than this predicament. I still remember seeing the images of Dr. King. I still remember seeing the images of your father. I still remember hearing the voices, not only of those televised, but those old saints of Pike County, Arkansas, and Harrison Chapel Baptist Church, who picked cotton in the fall so we could have some money to have. And when I went to college, told me to come to church, and they would give me a piece of money. That's what they called it, a piece of money, so I could go back to school. They didn't know what I was studying, but they believed in us. I say all that to say that our people, and I'm talking about black people, our people have lived the parable of the scriptures of people who were faced with trials and left trials and triumphed, transcended trials and made them triumphant, not because they were given more opportunities, but because their God gave them a powerful sense of their identity that saw opportunity where other people gave them only opposition. We will not always be favored, but we will always have favor with God. And we will not always be favorites in the society, but we will always have a favorite outcome if we will simply remember that there is, as Dr. King said, a message: truth knocked down does rise. I'm a Christian. My religion doesn't stop on Good Friday. It goes to Easter Sunday morning. I have an Easter religion. I have an Easter sense of justice. And I have an Easter faith. If I didn't have that, I'd put my Bible down, take up rock throwing. But I am not going to lay my religion down, because I'm not going to let my people down.
Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, yet it is the scaffold that sways the future, for behind the dim unknown standeth God, keeping watch above his own.
Amen.
Judge Griffin, thank you very much for participating in our show today.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Please give my love to your father and tell him, hey, folks he doesn't know, the lawyer he used to talk to at the Baptist Convention is still praying for him.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm particularly grateful for that word of hope and for that prayer from our Father. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. It's Tenacious Tuesdays with attorney Barbara Arnwine. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, brother. God be with
KBLA
you.
1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says ICE is arresting dangerous criminals in Minnesota as protests continue following the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent.
No, Minnesota, the crime is incredible.
Trump adds he could invoke the Insurrection Act over the unrest, though he has recently signaled he may hold off. A Dinwiddie, Virginia church is honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with a permanent historical marker. Mount Level Baptist Church unveiled the marker, recognizing King's 1962 visit during his People to People tour, where he urged voting as a path to equality. And Black Florida rapper Y&W Melly appeared upbeat in a Broward County court today after prosecutors dropped witness tampering charges against him. The rapper is still accused of killing two friends and fellow artists in 2018 following a late-night recording session in Fort Lauderdale. His murder trial is set to begin next year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For the first time in 21 years, LeBron will not be a starter in the NBA All-Star Game. The 41-year-old LeBron did not receive enough votes from fans to keep his streak alive. Here are the 5 players fans voted for to be in the Western Conference starting lineup. LeBron's teammate Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Victor Wembanyama. LeBron is expected to be named as a reserve. The NBA All-Star Game is February 15th at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. A couple of final notes on Indiana's remarkable run to the College Football National Championship. This is the 3rd straight year a school from the Big Ten Conference has won the title. The previous 2 titles were won by Ohio State and Michigan. Indiana was up against 100-1 odds in the preseason to win the championship, but they ignored the odds makers in Vegas and got it done. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. You may have heard me talk about the new course I'm teaching, The Art of Conversation. Well, it's here, and I'm holding a live free preview session on January 26th at 6 p.m. Pacific. Here's why this matters. For almost 40 years, I've made my living having conversations that count. Presidents, activists, artists, people who've changed the world. And I've learned something in the process. Most folk have no idea how to ask a real question, how to listen, how to create a moment. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, hosting a podcast, or just want to connect better, this changes how you show up. It's free, it's live, and I might have a surprise guest joining us. Here's what you do. Go to TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. Scan the QR code, click the registration link, and you're in. It's January 26th, 6 p.m. Pacific. I'm keeping this intimate. Don't miss it. I'll see you in class.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Yesterday, in Waukegan, Illinois, I delivered a speech that I heard after Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech on April 4th, 1967, that he titled Beyond Vietnam, Time to Break the Silence. I titled my speech Beyond Venezuela, A Time to Break the Silence. I hope it was inspiring to people that were in attendance. It's also available on my Facebook page, Jesse Jackson Jr. It's got a little check next to my name, Jesse Jackson Jr. Facebook page. You'll see if you scroll down, you'll see the Beyond Venezuela speech. I want to share with you very quickly before I bring up our Tenacious Tuesday host, Barbara Arnwine, how I concluded. I concluded with how Dr. Howard Thurman began and opened his book. He talked about his family in the deep rural South having pulled together all of the monies that they could find because they wanted one child in the Jim Crow era as sharecroppers to be able to go to school and to go to college. So they pulled together their pennies and their nickels and their quarters, and they bought Dr. Thurman a ticket on a train to Daytona, Florida, where they were allowing colored children to be taught. Dr. Thurman took his ticket and he took his trunk and he put all of his important items of his life, the broken pieces of his life, his memories, and he put them all in a trunk and he headed to the train station. And when he got there, he presented his ticket, but the ticket agent or the conductor refused to let his bag on the train of the bag with all of his memories. So he went over into the corner of the train station and he began crying. It was a devastating moment for him because he had lost hope. He had concluded that he was not going to go to college because he did not want to leave his trunk. So, staring deep into a puddle of tears and saliva and, yes, mucus, he was drained. Everything was draining when he wiped away the tears from his eyes, and he looked up and he saw a rustic old pair of brown beat-up boots. And he looked from the floor and kept looking up and saw a man standing there in overalls that were tattered as well. And the old man said to him, "Boy, what's wrong with you?" And he said, I got a ticket to go to Daytona to go to school and go to college, but I can't take my trunk. I don't have a ticket for my trunk, so I've changed my mind. I'm not going to go." The man reached into his pocket, pulled out a little leather sack with a drawstring, and pulled out a few coins and went to the ticket agent, and he bought a ticket for Howard Thurman's bag, his trunk. Howard Thurman dedicated his book to that man. When he got on that train, he walked to the back of the train, and all he remembers is the man walking in the opposite direction on the train tracks as the train was pulling away. He said he never got the man's name. He dedicated his book with head and heart to a man that he called the stranger, and he thanked him for restoring his hope. Dr. Howard Thurman would go on to become a spiritual leader and guide to the late Martin Luther King Jr. And in this moment, I can't help but think that we need to pay more attention to the strangers in our lives, those who are nameless and faceless, because in my opinion, the stranger is God. God intervened in Howard Thurman's life at just the right time, and he went on to become the architect of our liberation faith. I'm very honored in this hour that Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization provisions of the Voting Rights Act, is our very special guest. Attorney Arnwine, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's great to be here. Good evening, good afternoon. It's just wonderful to be here.
I am so grateful that you're here. Dr. Arnwine, Attorney Barbara Arnwine, tell us what's going on in the world and what we should be focusing on.
Well, first of all, thank you for that Howard Thurman story. I had never heard that one. And it's beautiful. And it's so instructive to all of us about the importance of strangers. You know, in the biblical times, it was considered sinful, right, to treat strangers poorly. And you were required to show some sort of, care, compassion for strangers. That's why the road of Samarthia, right, is always talked about in the, in the biblical tradition. So that's just so powerful. I just love that story. And he was going to Daytona, so what? He was going to be, at one of the amazing, schools that we know were founded, there by, some of our incredible, leaders. So it's just quite the story. I have been, of course, thinking about Dr. King and Coretta Scott King.
Yes.
I've been thinking about them with such a passion this week, because last week, your president decided to disrespect everybody, right? The first thing he did was he declared publicly that the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Fair Housing Act, he declared all these civil rights laws were bad for white people. And what a lie. And I was just, so taken by his
Information Network.
By his timing, by he would use this opportunity so close to this holiday to make such a racist statement. And folks, the reason why I say it's ridiculous is that if you know anything about employment law, which is, a big part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the Title VII, you'll know that it's helped who the most? White women.
No doubt about it. Barbara, I got a hold right there. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're going to talk about Trump. and what he did last week with Barbara Arnwine. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sent to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, give me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm 2. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes, and your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs. Because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You got to go to child support court. You got to get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Sean. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr.
Come on and listen to me.
KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app. Our very special guest on Tenacious Tuesday is Barbara Arnwine, the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Just before we came forward, you were talking about the president's speech and comments that he made. I believe he also tweeted it as well.
Yes.
A direct attack on 1964 Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, as well as the Open Housing legislation.
Fair Housing Act, yes.
The crown jewels of the civil rights movement.
And he was making it very clear that he was playing the zero-sum game. He was telling white America that somehow these acts had harmed them, that they were, quote, bad for white people. He lied. He lied because, first of all, his comments were just meant to be racially divisive. He was trying to make white people resent black people and make and posit himself as somehow their great white hope, their great white savior. But his premise is just factually inaccurate, because white women were some of the biggest beneficiaries of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, because it covered race, age, national origin, sex. So people, got to understand that it also required in Title VII that any job criteria had to be job related. Guess who that benefited? Not just white women, it benefited white men. Think about it. When I grew up, if you wanted to be a police officer, they insisted that you be what? At least 5'11", 6 feet tall. And it was, quote, they felt that was more intimidating to people on the streets. So even white men who were shorter than that couldn't get a job. Could not get a job.
Yeah, I want to share that. I want to share that because Dad and I often laugh at that particular application of the law.
Yes.
Let me expound upon that. Do you realize that short white men could not be state troopers in Alabama and Texas and Louisiana, in Georgia and the Deep South, because they were short?
Right.
They had a requirement that you had to be 6 feet plus or taller and tower over people in order to be a state trooper. Now, what kind of qualification is that? Other than the fact that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and that subsequent legislation laid the foundation for them to have a claim of discrimination based on their height or based on their weight.
Yes.
So the act doesn't just benefit Black people, it made America better.
It made so many people better,
including Americans with disabilities.
And because people had all these rights, they had all these really bizarre notions about who was best for jobs, and it had nothing to do with their capabilities and their abilities. And so, prior to the pre-1964 civil rights era was one of massive non-meritocracy, massive competence, incompetence, and people just don't understand that. And so, he just totally mistaught that era. By the way, when we were talking about Howard Thurman, it was Mary McLeod Bethune University that he probably was headed to in Daytona Beach. I just had to, look that up, of course, during the break, because Mary McLeod Bethune was so amazing. And so committed to educating our people.
I'm thinking also that that Barbara, we have to give some consideration in light of our reflection on Martin Luther King Jr. that what's taking place in South America, from Cuba to Haiti to Colombia to Venezuela, even the attacks on Nigeria, and now the president's desire to it feels inevitable that he's going to provide some kind of military action in Greenland. Barbara, bring us up to date on your thoughts on that.
Yes, a couple of things, everyone. First of all, I wish I had a picture, and Gina, if you do, please share it. Dr. Martin Luther King getting his Nobel Peace Prize. Because somebody else we know don't have one. And he's been losing his little mind over it. And even playing geopolitical politics on the basis of, does he get a little Nobel Prize, trying to steal somebody else's, right? So I just want people to understand that, one of my favorite speeches is, in fact, Dr. King's acceptance speech for the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. Why is that important? Please go listen to that speech. He talks about those, he talks at length about the fact that he's accepting that prize, not for himself, but he's accepting it for all the people who suffered and fought for civil rights, all the people who were in the streets. He talks about those who were killed. He talks about those who were maimed and injured. He talks about the water hosing of, people by these evil, forces, police forces. He talks about the beatings. He talks about all of that. And he says, these are the people. This is who I accept this award for, because they're the ones who did all this work. And I'm just a figurehead, a spokesperson. He's very clear about it. He also takes his time in that speech to talk about he's called many times the three triplets of evil. And that's racism, militarism, and materialism.
Yes.
And he spends a lot of time on militarism and American colonialism and European colonialism. And he even talks about the struggle against apartheid in